You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress
Across the nation.
and around the globe.
You're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners. Learn how you can save up to 70% on your healthcare costs with just one click. Visit CramerSez.com/impact for complete details. That's CramerSez.com/impact. The CramerSez Project is back.
With global news and local views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching CramerSez.
Welcome to the show. My name is Kramer. It's a Sunday night. We're a couple of days away from the election, and things are really heating up. We got a bunch of crazy shit that's being said. Tim Walz is out on the campaign trail calling President Trump a dictator and that he's going to destroy the Constitution on day one. Folks, let me put you at rest. That ain't going to happen. The people who are demanding free speech and the right to bear arms aren't the ones that are a threat to the Constitution. Tim Walz is insane. Tim Walz is a Marxist. Tim Walz is a communist. He supports the Chinese government. Been there over 60 times. He enjoys the country so much and thinks they have so much to offer the world. It's what he wants for you here in this nation. We've been watching for the last 2 years the actions of everyone on both sides of this election, and we continue to see the same thing over and over and over and over again from the left. They either make something up out of nothing. For example, the Liz Cheney wanting to get shot. Trump wanting to have Liz Cheney put in front of a firing squad. It was a complete lie and fabrication. That's how desperate they are. If they were winning, they wouldn't need to do this. But they're losing. And if they're doing this right now, if they're lying to your face like this right now, what will they do once the election is over? Kamala Harris wins. Where do your rights go? Oh, we're not coming after your rights. I beg to differ. I heard what Hillary Clinton had to say. Hillary says she wants to lock us up into re-education camps. Paula Collins, who's running against Elise Stefanik in New York, well, she says the exact same thing. John Kerry says that your free speech is, it's a hurdle for the government and they got to do something about it. Adam Schiff thinks that certain things should be censored, that the government should be able to dictate what things can and can't be put up for everyone in the world to see because, well, if we allow everybody to have free speech, we'll lose control. That's what Hillary Clinton had to say. So when I hear these threats that Donald Trump is going to be a dictator on day one, I know you're an unserious person who is led by the nose like a bull or a sheep or whatever. That you can't do any critical thinking on your own. You're incapable of doing that. That's what I assume. That's what I see. Got a couple days here, folks, before we get to the point where we know where our nation is going. Now, that doesn't mean that everything's over, that everything's done, and that we're going to return to normal immediately. No, these asshats aren't going to allow that to happen. They've continued to say it. And if you look at the chatter that we're seeing on Reddit and 4chan and 8chan, these groups that caused violence throughout 2020, that whole process, they're all of a sudden talking again. That they're going to tear down the fascist state. Trump will never serve. That's the thing made, folks. It's up to you to be vigilant on election night. Make sure that you're in a safe place as things start out. Am I spreading fear porn? I don't think so. We've seen what they've done before. You saw what happened on the inauguration of Trump in 2017. They burned D.C. And then in 2020, when it looked like he was going to take over and win again because the economy was just booming, they unleashed the flu onto the planet to stop Trump. Oh, Kramer, you don't know what you're talking about. That's a conspiracy theory. No, it's not. It's all based on fact. You see, we wouldn't be saying it if it wasn't based on fact. For the first time in U.S. history, during that period, these people who want you to vote them into office were telling you that if you don't do what the government says, you lose your right to be a citizen in this nation. Did you forget about that? Did you forget that that's what just happened? I haven't forgotten. I remember being told that I had to leave a store because I didn't have a mask on, or that I couldn't do certain things because I wasn't vaccinated. Remember that? Those are the same ones who just, 2 days ago, went in and got, the squirrel. Is it Peanut the squirrel and Fred the raccoon? The government has too much authority over your daily lives. Now, the question I've got to ask is, do you want the people who used 10 police officers at gunpoint to come in and take a raccoon and a squirrel from this guy's apartment? Are those the folks you want in charge? There's only one way that you stop it. They've overreached they've overstepped their authority. They don't have it, folks. Our system was set up that you and I all have the same rights. And when you and I have a problem with each other, we go to the government and we say, hey, listen, that guy ain't living up to his deal in the contract. Can you please settle this dispute for us? That's what it's supposed to be. They're supposed to protect your borders from invasion. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to raise armies so you can defend yourself. But everything else was left up to you and me. Founding fathers didn't have in mind that when you wake up every morning, you're going to break 400 different laws in one way or form on a daily basis. 400 laws. That's the average. Think about that. You think that's what our founding fathers had in mind? That that's what they wanted? They were getting ready to sacrifice their life for freedom. And do you think that this is what they had in mind? That this is what they envisioned? That they hoped to God that at some point in the future that Americans would be paying 44% of their income to the federal government? 44%. When you add all taxes, in some situations, in New York in particular, California is getting close, but in some situations, people are taxed at 51.2% of their income. When the government is making more than you're making, you're a slave. When the government is taking more from you than you're making, you're a slave. There's no other way around it. And what's happened is the government has done what the mafia does. They've become a partner with all of us in our daily lives. They're that silent partner that just sucks away the money as you make it. They never offer any help, any assistance. They never come in and say to you, is there something that I can do for you to make your life easier? They don't do that. Now, they promise it every 2, 4, or 6 years. But do they deliver on it? Once you've voted for them, once the campaign is over, where do they go? Do you see them? I don't see them. Folks, our founding fathers, if you read the Federalist Papers and you understand what they were doing and why they were doing it, and the commitment that they had made and the losses that they took, not just in financials, but their own freedoms and their lives. Several of the men that we know about, folks, they were killed. They were hung. They were strung up by the British as traitors to the nation. Men wanting freedom, men wanting the right to say whatever they want to say, the right to defend themselves and carry a firearm. They didn't want the state coming in, barging in their door and taking their squirrel and their raccoon without any reason. They didn't want to have to testify against themselves in court. They wanted it to be fair. And they knew that it couldn't be fair if there's only one person in charge, because when there's only one person in charge, you got a problem. When the king is the only one making decisions, you got a problem. If you've got a king who's a benefactor for the people, then it works. But most people aren't like that. Most people, you'll see time and time again, they get everything that the universe or that the life can give them, and they destroy it. Why? Well, it's simple. Because they never had the character that got them there in the first place. Character is what you do when no one else is around. You drop something on the floor and you pick it up because it's the right thing to do. That's character. Helping somebody. Open a door. No one's looking. You don't need to do that shit. Why do you do it? Because it's character. It's who you are. And people know that they can rely on that. They can count on that. But what we've got right now is we've got a group of liars in this nation. We've got the mainstream media, every fucking channel except Fox, Newsmax, and OAN, the conservative sides, every one of them lied about Trump's comments about Liz Cheney. Not just one, not just two, all of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the enemy of the people. Trump is 100% right. And again, I ask you, do you think our founding fathers thought that the federal government should be, directing what the news departments say? Do you think that they would have approved of Operation Mockingbird? Or do you think that they would have said, well, fuck that bullshit? I mean, I can just imagine if one of our founding fathers, if we could talk to George Washington for just a moment, and we were telling him what's going on, and we asked, George, do you think that we should kick these motherfuckers out and start over? Do you think that we should take another look at this? Do you think that civil war and revolution are on the horizon? And I can guarantee you that he would say, well, yeah, fuck yeah. We did everything that we did because of a 3-cent tax. It's important to know your history. When you know your history, you know the lies that they're telling you about the past. We see what happens when people do their jobs, when people, Americans, do what it means to be an American. We've seen it throughout North Carolina and Florida and throughout the Southeast because of the hurricanes, Milton and Helene. We've seen how Americans came together. And who was the problem? It was the government. They came in and started putting on rules. Musk is trying to get satellites off to people so that they can communicate with the outside world from where they are. And our government was saying, no, you can't do that. You've got to get our permission. Or you've got to know exactly where you're going to land to be able to deliver the goods to the people that have no communications. That's your government at work for you. That's how stupid, that's how moronic they are. They cannot get out of their own way, and they've gotten too big. When you think that you have the right to barge into a man's home and at gunpoint and search through their entire home over a raccoon and a squirrel, you've overstepped your boundaries. Because I can guarantee you our founding fathers would round you up and hang you all as traitors because you've overstepped your boundary. You've violated right after right after right after right. The government has no right to tell me or to influence or even go compel these social media giants to shut me up. They don't have the authority, and it's illegal. It's a violation of my rights. It's a violation of your rights. And we've already heard when Kamala Harris wins that she's told us what she's going to do. We'll talk about that in just a moment.
Do you have a CramerSez.com free speech account? Unlike other platforms, CramerSez is 100% free speech. Get your free CramerSez account today at CramerSez.com.
Cause fuck censorship.
Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable health care.
Impact Health Sharing offers comprehensive medical services, covering preventive care, maternity, accidents, illnesses, and injuries.
Plus, choose any doctor or healthcare provider you trust with no in-network restrictions.
Enjoy the freedom and coverage you need
for your entire family.
To learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs, call 844-827-2637.
That's 844-827-2637.
CramerSez is everywhere. Twitter, Truth, Instagram, and always on America's fastest growing free speech platform, CramerSez Social. Make your free account today at CramerSez.com.
Introducing Tusk,
With Tusk, you get uncensored news and secure browsing.
all while protecting your privacy.
Choose the news you trust and take control of your internet.
Join the free speech revolution with Tusk.
Download Tusk today at tuskbrowser.com.
Learn how you can save up to 70% on your healthcare costs with just one click. Visit CramerSez.com/impact for complete details. That's CramerSez.com/impact. The CramerSez Project is back.
With global news and local views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching Kramer Says.
Let's go ahead and open up the phone lines. Going to take calls tonight. You can give your opinions. You want to tell us what you're thinking about what's going to happen over the next few days here, you can do so at 877-619-3899. We'll be taking calls here in just a moment. What I was talking about before we went to break is that Kamala Harris has been very clear about what she intends to do in the event that she wins. She's told you who she's going to come after. For those of you who haven't heard that, well, here you go. Let's see if this is the right one. It is not the right one. It's this
and
one.
will put the Department of Justice of the United States back in the business of justice. We will double the Civil Rights Division and direct law enforcement to counter this extremism. We will hold social media platforms accountable for the hate infiltrating their platforms because they have a responsibility to help fight against this threat to our democracy. And if you profit off of hate, if you act as a megaphone for misinformation or cyber warfare, if you don't police your platforms, we are going to hold you accountable as a community.
That's your current vice president telling, in fact, dog whistling to the world that she's going to lock it all down. They'll determine what is truth and what isn't truth. Not you, not the media, the government. And if you speak out against them, well, they'll just come after you. Oh, Kramer, that's not going to happen. Bullshit. It's already happening. You're live with Kramer Says. What's your name and where are you calling from? Hello? I can't hear anything. Okay, we're gonna take that back. Let's try this again. We'll if you whoever that was, try and call again, and we'll see if we can get you on. One of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, besides Kamala, what she plans to do, is that after we get done with the election here, I'm dropping off the majority of social media that I've been on for the last 4 years. I'm done. It's played its role. It's done what I was wanted to do and what I was supposed to do. And what I mean by that is there were a group of us that were determined that regardless of what was being said and being done, that we were going to get the truth out regardless of what it was and speak in true language, not sugarcoat it, not call it jabby jab when it's a vaccine that isn't a vaccine, not skipping around and going onto these social media platforms and saying grape instead of rape. When you remove the word and you're not able to say it, it diminishes the intensity of the crime. Isn't it amazing how all these social media channels all of a sudden want to clamp down on anything along sexual predation, molestation, abuse, victimhood? They've made all of that a community guidelines violation. So you can't talk about it. You can't discuss it. You can't say this is a scourge upon our community and we must get rid of it. You can't say that because they won't let you. I've been trying for the last several months to figure out or come to terms with what it's going to be election night and on. I don't know what to expect, folks. If we believe what the polls say that it's neck and neck. In fact, there's still some people who don't even know. They don't even know who they're going to vote for on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the markets, the money markets, are saying otherwise. The betting markets are saying that Trump is going to win, and it's going to be a landslide. I'm more prone to believe that. Somebody calling somebody and saying, who are you voting for, yada, yada, yada. Some people don't even want to do the polls. They'll do it reluctantly, but they may not give you the answers that you want. But I'll tell you what, people putting money behind the people that they expect to win says a lot. When Trump's getting 66% of that vote, Kamala's getting 33%, it starts to sound very reminiscent of 2020 and the numbers that we expected then. If you saw what Steve Bannon said the day that he got out of prison, or the day after he got out of prison, one of the comments that he made is that we have the proof. We know that 2020 was rigged. That's why they can't allow this to happen on Tuesday. And from Tuesday until January 6th, and then from January 6th to January 20th, we are going to see more violence and more crime in this nation because these people are petulant children. They're going to have a little temper tantrum. Now, we've been talking about what is our government going to do? What are they going to be able to? What will they do? That's the real question. Do you believe that your community will protect you if things turn sideways on Tuesday or beyond? As the violence starts to pick up and they come into communities, Portland's locked down, Seattle's locked down. The governor of Washington State, has already called out the National Guard. The National Guard have been called to duty in Indiana. I know that for sure. A lieutenant colonel told a friend of mine. They're expecting something, folks. And I think the problem is going to be that when this landslide happens, these children who have been told that they're special and that life is going to be perfect if we get rid of the orange guy, I think they're going to blow their tops. Bannon said that Trump won, or Republicans won 19 of the 20 bellwether counties. You don't lose the presidency when that happens. You don't pick up seats in Congress and the Senate and lose the presidency. You just don't. You don't make huge wins in state elections on the GOP ticket, and then the guy at the very top, I'm not going to vote for him. That doesn't happen. Now, we've already seen the comments or the reports that are coming in from around the planet that there's a problem with our elections. We have foreign influence in our elections. And Speaker Johnson just announced that the House has subpoenaed the group known as Act Blue. I'll get this together here. We're going to be unable to take that phone call. Sorry. I'm sorry for not being able to do that. It doesn't seem like it's working, so we're going to have to figure out what that is. Sorry about that. We'll go ahead and take this off. The Act Blue scandal that is about to break. James O'Keefe started doing this about a year and a half ago. And I worked with him, and Adam Sharp out of St. Louis. He did Missouri. I did Indiana. And we went and knocked on doors to find out if people had really donated what Act Blue has said they donated. They said no. And it wasn't just one or two. It was 100% of everyone we talked to said, well, yeah, I gave some money, but I didn't give $200,000. I didn't give $15,000. We reported that. In fact, I went to the state of Indiana. I went to talk to Todd Rokita, who's our Attorney General. I talked to our Secretary of State. They told me to go pound sand. Then, just a few weeks ago, Todd Rokita announced that he was jumping on the bandwagon and he was going to sue Act Blue for their records because something was amiss. What happened? What was the difference? I've got the email from the AG's office stating you'll have to go to the FEC for this. This isn't something we can get involved with. Folks, that's what I expect from our government. When you call on them, when you say, I need your help, or I've got something to expose here, they don't care. It's not about you. It's about them. It always has been, and it always will be. We'll be right back after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress
Across the nation.
and around the globe.
You're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop.
Why pay more for your health care? Impact Health Sharing is a not-for-profit organization, meaning more savings for you. Most members save 30 to 50% on their healthcare costs compared to traditional insurance. Enjoy affordable healthcare without the high costs. Call 844-827-2637 to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now, 844-827-2637.
Learn how you can save up to 70% on your healthcare costs with just one click. Visit CramerSez.com/impact for complete details. That's CramerSez.com/impact.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching CramerSez.
One more day to go. One more day to go. Or 2 more days to go, depending on how you look at it. I don't count the day of. That's the day it's happening. So we've got one more day. We've got to get through Monday, and then Tuesday we go vote, and hopefully by 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, we'll know who the new leader of our nation is going to be. Is it going to be Donald Trump, the guy that gave us 4 years of no wars and a great economy and low crime and low unemployment? Or are we going to go with Kamala, that opened the southern border to a floodgate of people, allowed the drugs to pour over that killed hundreds of thousands of our citizens on a yearly basis? 400,000 is what they're saying. 400,000 people, about 100,000 people a year die from fentanyl poisoning in this nation. You think that they would be more upset about losing 10,000 people a month, but they're not, because they're letting millions in. And it's a numbers game. And they don't care about those that they view too stupid. They use the drugs. They know who these people are. And folks, it's our CIA, it's our law enforcement that's allowing these drugs in. If you believe that these drugs come in and law enforcement and the CIA and the FBI and government officials have no idea about it and they have completely clean hands, I can guarantee you that's not the truth. We found for a long time that if you stay silent about an issue, that issue will continue. A great example is if you've got a car that's broken down in the driveway and you just leave it there, it will not fix itself. You have to fix the problem. You have to do it, or have somebody do it. And that's where we're at right now. As I started to say earlier, what I expect to happen on election night or within the week is that when this turns sideways because of the landslide, the leftists who have been told for the last several years that Donald Trump is a racist and a bigot and a rapist and a Nazi and that he's Hitler incarnate, they've been spouting that for the last 7-8 years. And there's a group of people in this nation that are just crazy enough to act on that. Tonight, Tim Walz said, get out there. Let me read his quote here. Call to action. Encourage supporters to do every damn thing we could to prevent Trump's re-election. I'm going to say that again. Do every damn thing we could to prevent Trump's election. It's a dog whistle, folks. They're not saying we got to beat him. They're saying we can't let him win. There's a big difference in that. And they've been saying it because, well, they say he's a fascist. So they're not just saying it, it's not hyperbole. They mean it with conviction. And when you talk to the diehards, and especially the idiots in the streets, they always regurgitate the exact same facts. When you ask for specifics, they can't give them. That's why they're dangerous, and that's why a civil war is coming in this nation, regardless of what happens on Tuesday night. Doesn't matter. We've reached a moment of impasse in this nation. There's a group of us that thought that we could move past it. I was one of the ones that didn't believe that was possible. Because what I do is I understand human nature. Those in power are not going to relent power. Those that have been crying that he's a dictator are the ones that are telling you what they're going to do to you if you step out of line. Hillary Clinton on 4 different occasions has said that we should lock MAGA up. When powerful people tell you something like that, you should believe that that's what they really believe. Otherwise, they wouldn't say it out loud. But they've got crazy followers, and those crazy followers, well, at least 2 of them already have tried to assassinate Donald Trump. We have 48 hours, roughly. And I expect that when the returns start coming in early and it looks like there is going to be a landslide, I think that we're going to have action in the streets immediately. Now, thankfully, a lot of the Palestinians, they're not going to take to the streets for Democrats because they're pissed at them about Israel. So that's one faction that's probably out, but I wouldn't count that. You never know. I'm at the point now where, as a friend of mine said, he goes, well, you don't seem too antsy about this. And I go, no, I'm not. I've been predicting what's going to happen for the last 4 years. Once January 6th happened, I said, this is so fucked. And then in the fall, about 6 weeks before the 2022 midterms, when I was given access to Hunter Biden's laptop, I saw the contents. And what I realized was that, yeah, he's a creep and he's done a lot of illegal things, but the FBI's had this laptop for the last 3 years. They've seen the exact same things that we're looking at. And Hunter Biden still walks the streets as a free man. I realized that the information had been leveraged, that the FBI used it to get what they wanted. It's no different than Speaker Mike Johnson suddenly deciding not to shut down Congress. Could it be because his adopted son was picked up for drug dealing in D.C.? That story must have slipped by you. Slipped by most people. It's not just the left, folks. It's both of them. The uniparty is in unison saying one thing. We can't allow Trump to be president again because he's going to expose what we've been doing to the American people. He's going to open up the records and show who killed JFK. And I can guarantee you that what that's going to show is that our government had a role in that process. The government agencies, in particular the CIA and the FBI, played a role in the assassination of JFK, RFK, even in the assassination of Dr. King. Why? Power. You're not going to talk like that. We'll tell you who's going to do what. Kennedy was killed for one simple reason. He had made the statement that he agreed with Eisenhower and that the military-industrial complex, including all the secret societies and secret departments and secret agencies, that they all had to go because they couldn't be trusted. They were working so deep in the shadows, so deep in the darkness, that they were the actual criminals. They weren't stopping anybody from doing anything. They were partnering with them. They still are today. Time and time again, we find out that the CIA is involved in drug smuggling from South America. Why? So they can take that money and fund projects that they utilize against you and I. That's the CIA working in the United States against the American people. They've been doing it for at least the last 10 years. Why is that important to know? Because the machine is scared. Now, some of them believe, I've heard them talking behind the scenes, that they believe that they can weather this out. That Trump's only going to be in there for 4 years. But the people that Trump are bringing in won't be. We get this nation turned around. We can get the crime stopped. We can get the border closed. We can get the fentanyl flow stopped. We can stop these issues fairly quickly just by addressing the border. Then when the mass deportations of illegals, they're not immigrants, they're not asylum seekers, they came here to get a better life and a better job. Sorry, you don't qualify. You got to go on the other side of the gate, and then we'll reevaluate. But now you got to leave. I think that John Homan was a boss the other day when he was talking to the lady from, I think it was MSNBC, and she asked him, well, is there a way that you can deport people without separating families? And without breaking a sweat, he says, yeah, we deport families together. You see, leftists want to focus on the children. It's the children we have to save. And those children are American citizens. You can't deport them. Yeah, but their parents aren't. And those kids are welcome to come back the moment they're of age, the moment that they can fend for themselves in this nation. But until then, they got to go back home with mom and dad because mom and dad are illegal. And they did that to the kid. We didn't do that. The parents did that to the child. They put that child in that situation. But liberals don't care because they've been told that unlike 20 years ago when Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and even Barack Obama, when they were espousing that we've got to shut down the border, that we've got to deport these illegals. Remember when they were doing that? Yeah, back in 2010 and 2012. Remember that? Yeah. And today, they tell you just the opposite, that if you don't allow these people in, that you're inhumane, that you're a racist. At some point, you have to start standing up and saying, I'm not any of those things. And the next time you say it, you're going to get a mouthful of a fist. That's where we're at in this nation. You're seeing it everywhere. The road rage, the violence on the streets, the rhetoric online, in particular from our elected officials, time and time again, saying one man has cooties. That guy has cooties. Now, they say it in a different way, but it means the same thing. When you call somebody Hitler or a racist, or that's no different than calling Becky a slut in 8th grade. It hurts, but it's harmless. It can't do anything to you. But it can change minds. And that's why they're doing it. They've been dog whistling for the last few weeks that, well, it's okay to punch a Nazi. And by the way, Trump and MAGA are all Nazis. What message do you think that sends to the crazies out there? That's not even a dog whistle. That's a fucking billboard. That's as clear as day. There's no reading in between the lines. Maxine Waters says, get up in their faces. Make them know who you are. Tim Walz says, do anything that we have to keep Trump from getting reelected. They're not telling you how they're going to make your life better. They're not telling you how they're going to achieve higher grades in schools. They're not telling you how they're going to pay for all these wonderful things that they're promising. They're saying that guy over there, we can't allow to be the president because he's a fascist. They don't talk about his policies. Unless they don't agree with him. Or if he said something and they want to take it and run with it like they did with the story of him wanting to put Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad. They lied straight to your face. No different than Kamala Harris coming out with that fucking poster, a picture of her in a McDonald's uniform that she knew was false. She knew that image was false. She didn't say, don't show that. That's not true. If we show that, we're going to get caught. They didn't do that. They thought they could get away with it, so they did it. That's who wants to be reelected in 2 days. She wants to be the leader of the free world. A woman who will lie right to your face, and when asked a direct question, cannot give a direct answer. I think that's the epitome of everything that we don't want in this nation. That's the one thing I can guarantee you we don't need. Wrap up right after this.
Preventive care and mental health are essential. Impact Health Sharing offers annual wellness visits and mental health support. Take care of your body and mind with affordable healthcare solutions from Impact Health Sharing. Experience comprehensive care for your overall well-being, mind, body, and soul. Call 844-827-2637 now to learn more about how you can save 30, 40, even up to 50% on your healthcare costs. Impact Health Sharing isn't insurance. It's affordable healthcare. Call now.
America's political prisoners need our help. CramerSez is on a mission to raise $100,000 or more. Can you help? Join our mission today at CramerSez.shop.
Introducing Tusk.
With Tusk, you get uncensored news and secure browsing,
All while protecting your privacy.
Choose the news you trust and take control of your internet.
Join the free speech revolution with Tusk.
Download Tusk today at tuskbrowser.com.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching the CramerSez Project. You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching CramerSez.
Numbers are starting to come in on this vote, folks. From the Gateway Pundit tonight, pressure builds on Kamala. Former Dem Philly mayor says Kamala needs gargantuan turnout on Election Day. She needs somewhere in the ballparks of 600,000 votes just to meet the margin to win Philly. RFK Jr. to his supporters, don't vote for me if you want to see me in Washington, D.C. Vote for President Trump. It's pretty clear. Dysfunctional German coalition has put forward 3 different plans to reboot ailing economy. Unpopular Chancellor Scholz trying to keep government from imploding. These are all headlines coming from the Gateway Pundit tonight. Kamala Harris refuses to answer a reporter on how she voted in California's Proposition 36 because it was the Sunday before the election. I'm not going to give anything, any ideas on this. I'm not going to. You know what? That may be the problem. Let's see if we can do this. Let's see. We're getting a phone call. Let me get around to it. Let's see if this actually works. This may actually be the reason. Go ahead. Are you there? They are not there. They are not there. Are they there? Are you there? Cannot hear them. Okay, we will not try that again tonight. Sorry about that. Phone's been cut off, so we're going to have to figure that out. She wouldn't tell her what her vote was, what her position was on this bill in California. And that speaks volumes as to who this woman is. I don't want to give you my opinion because it's 2 days before an election. I don't want to tell you what I honestly think because you may not like that and you may not vote for me in 2 days. That's who this woman is. That's who they all are. And that's why we're in the situation that we're in. Because for far too long, we've been listening to them, listening to their lies, and not doing anything about it, not holding them accountable. And far too many people say the exact same thing. Nothing's ever going to happen. You're right. They will never police themselves. They will never turn on one another. It takes a lot because they've got so much dirt on each other that they don't want anything being exposed. It's the mutual assured destruction philosophy. You tell on me, I tell on you. It's crazy, but that's how the system works. Trump says Fox News is not your friend. I would agree. Been on Fox several times. I usually go on talking about advertising and marketing. I talked a lot about DEI and ESG when it was running rampant, when the Bud Light situation was going on. So was on several times with Jesse and what's his name in the morning, Ducey. So in looking at what's happening here at Fox, is that what you have to understand is that there's a group of people that will tell you that they're conservative, that they live the life, but none of their producers do. The family that owns Fox News, the Murdochs, they ain't conservative at all. Daddy ain't even conservative. He's more conservative, but he's not as conservative. He's not a conservative. Why is that important? Well, Because what they do is that when they don't get their way and things for them politically, they use these pawns that they've purchased for billions of dollars to be able to get their message out. That's what all of this is about. What I've realized over the last few years is that some of the work that I've been doing is that basically is billionaires paying me to go make fun or go investigate other billionaires that they've got a problem with. Now, there's a lot of dirty billionaires out there, and I'm happy to take their money and go do that. But that's basically what it is. So if our side's doing it, the other side's doing it too. But that's not new. That's what's happened for years. This is not a new phenomenon. It's as old as Christ and the cavemen. It's the structure of society. It's how things are structured. I don't make the rules. These are just the rules. But we can change it. We can change things to the better by demanding transparency from those that work for us. The government is our employee. All of them work for we the people. We the people is the corporation. Everybody else works for the corporation. But we the people, their management style has not been very strong over the last 70, 80, 90 years. We've allowed our government to continue to take more and more of our rights without speaking up because it's incremental. It's the frog in a pot of water. So we sit there, and we're getting hotter and hotter. Well, there's some of us that are closer to the bottom of the pan, and we're telling you, hey, it's fucking heating up in here, and you better start paying attention. We're in trouble. It takes you. They're not going to police themselves. They're not going to hold themselves accountable. We're going to have to do it. Just like we did the first time and the second time. We've done it twice in this nation. Am I calling for revolution, civil war? No, but that's the path we're on. When the courts are allowing illegality in our elections, i.e. what's going on in Georgia this weekend when the judge said, no, you can go ahead and count those ballots. We got a problem in this nation. It's illegal, Judge. You can't fucking do it. Even you, a judge, cannot change the law. They only interpret the law. Somebody's got to say something. Somebody's got to do something. And I think that's what's going to happen over the next few months. I think that's what we're going to see our nation devolve into. And sadly, what I think is that Trump is going to be the president, just like Lincoln, that rules during a period, serves during a period of revolution and civil war in this nation. I think that's what's going to happen. The left is going to rise up. They're going to show their face, and then they're going to get smacked down. Then they're going to get real mad, and they're going to come back. That's how it always happens. That's what's been going on in the Middle East for years. We finally reached that stage. You saw just a few days ago, a kid walked through a crowd at Halloween and just blew another guy's head off. They don't care about life. There's no future for them where they can see doing the right thing pays. That's our culture. We've allowed it to become like this. Final thoughts after this.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
From the halls of Congress
Across the nation.
and around the globe.
You're getting the latest news and conservative views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
Global news with local views.
CramerSez returns after this message from our partners. Learn how you can save up to 70% on your healthcare costs with just one click. Visit CramerSez.com/impact for complete details. That's CramerSez.com/impact. The CramerSez Project is back.
With global news and local views.
You're watching the CramerSez Project.
You're watching CramerSez.
48 hours. We've got roughly 48 hours before we know where our nation heads next. The question I have for you guys tonight is, are you ready? Are you prepared? Are you prepared for what us fearmongers have been saying for the last few months? In fact, the last couple of years, what we've been predicting? Keep in mind that the federal government has done a couple of weird things in the last few weeks that you should probably be aware of if you're not already. First of all, Congress came together and said, we don't need the voice of the American people in the event that 100 or more serving federal members of Congress and Senate and so on are killed all at the same time. No. If 100 or more are killed, by the way, this happened just in the last couple of weeks. If 100 or more are killed, then what we'll do is we'll revert back to the states, and the governors of the state will determine who's going to serve in their place. We won't do any special elections. We won't do any elections. We'll just go to the system. We'll go to the establishment and say, give us who you got. At the same time, the Department of Defense has now issued orders that the military is able to, they're able to fully come onto the streets of America, work with police agents with deadly force. They've determined that posse comitatus doesn't exist, that act, that's a law, that they're not worried about that. And why? Well, it's an emergency. We're not going to issue martial law because that looks bad. But we're going to act as if we do, or we have. And we're going to do whatever the fuck we want. And if you don't like it, well, just too bad. And they'll put you through the meat grinder. That's what's coming down the road. Not because I say it or not because I assume that's what's going to happen. It's because that's what they said is going to happen. Do you remember what happened in Minneapolis during the riots and everything? Do you remember the police going through the neighborhoods and firing pepper spray on people to go back into their homes? Do you remember that? That wasn't 1938 Germany. That was 2 years ago in this nation. At the same time, we've got thousands of Americans sitting in jail for speaking out, for protesting, saying, I think my voice was stolen. I think my voice in 2020 was stolen. How do I get my voice back? Hey, can you guys check to make sure that my voice didn't get stolen? I saw a situation. It was a video on cops on some college campus, and they bang on some girl's door, scare the shit out of her. She comes in, she opens the door, and the first thing they said is, give me your ID. In exactly that tone. And the chick's freaking out. She says, okay, well, they're at the wrong house, first of all. So they're coming up hot, being badasses. They move over, realize they go to the next door. They get the girl that's the homeowner or the renter of that place. And the cop starts all over again. And when the girl says, well, wait a minute, just tell me what's going on. He goes, that's another charge for noncompliance. That's when our system has gone too far. The officers are there to serve and protect. Isn't that their job? Not harass and make victims of people, not violate people's rights. But that's human nature. And that's what's going on right now, is human nature. You see, these people believe that they have the authority to run every part of your life. And when you say you don't, that's like talking back to the cop. And so they got to put their boot farther on your neck. Why is that bad? Well, because that's what bullies do. That's how bullies work. Do as I say, or pay a price. Now, you got to realize, or at least come to the point where I'll pay the price. Let's rumble. That's where I am. I think that's where hundreds of thousands of Americans, if not millions, are right now at this moment. With 48 hours to go before this election is over, I think they're reevaluating what is important in their lives and what sacrifices they're willing to make for their freedoms. Because when this happens, it can't happen slowly anymore. The cat's out of the bag. And so they're going to have to do everything at once. They're going to have to show their face. They're going to have to show their hand. When they show who they are, believe them. When they tell you what they're going to do to you, believe them. Everything that they say they're going to do, they've done. When you know what their initial plan was, and you've read their books, and they say, hey, listen, we got to get rid of this free speech thing in America. It is not benefiting us at all. So, 15 years later, we're in a position to where you've got to ask permission from YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, every place but X to speak freely. Somebody gets upset. They get their butt hurt. They take it down because that was offensive. That's what starts revolutions. That's what starts civil wars. The government's working with all these groups. The CIA, the FBI, the ATF, the NSA, they're all intertwined. Why? Because everything that we use, every device that we use to communicate with started as a military product, started as a military project. Cell phones, military project. The internet, military project. Satellites, military project. Now, if you think that the military designed and implemented all of these things and then just handed them over to private industry, you're an idiot. That's not how it works. They've maintained control through these devices the entire time. That's why you've got the government in bed with Apple. You've got the government in bed with Google. And that's why you've got Ketanji Brown Jackson stating that, well, she doesn't believe that the First Amendment really should be, as protected as you're protecting it when we have an emergency or when there's a compelling reason. Ask the Founding Fathers what they thought about that logic. The Federalist Papers are clear. What they say is that, well, that logic is idiotic. I mean, that's basically what they were saying. We're at that point, folks, where we're going to have to make determination if we're going to continue down this path or have the courage of our founding fathers to say no more. We're done. And we have a national declaration of independence from the government. But we're done. They have to prove their worth. They haven't done that. They take 44% on average out of everyone's pay. Some more, some less. But on average, 44%. Nearly half of your income goes to the government. City, state, local, federal. Are they spending your money very well? Are they doing what you would do with that half of that money? Is that money as prosperous, making you as prosperous as it's making them? It's time to start contemplating these things because we went to war in this nation over a 3-cent tax. I'll say it again. Men killed other men because of a 3-cent tax. They did it again when George Washington instituted taxes on whiskey to pay for the revolution. And what happened? The Whiskey Rebellion. Americans said, fuck you. We didn't just fight a war to stop being taxed by these motherfuckers, and then you turn around and start taxing us. By the way, that's why you've got such great bourbon throughout Tennessee and Kentucky. Because they said, fuck you, motherfucker. And they left. And they went deep into the territories so that nobody could come fuck with them. They sent the tax revenuers down there, and what did they do? Well, the Appalachian people killed them. Strung them up. Sent them scooting down the trail with birdshot in their ass. That's our America. And as we enter election night, it's important to remember what happened in Athens, Tennessee, back in the 1940s. 1948, there was an election. The boys who had just come home from the war were not very happy when they realized the sheriff was fucking with the elections. They tried to confront him. It didn't go well, so they broke into the armory, took the guns, the firearms from the armory, and went and had a shootout with the sheriff and his department. National Guard was called in to spread the peace. National Guard comes in, and it was the sheriff who went to jail. Not the men who defended democracy by saying you're not cheating. That's what this is all about. They preach on a daily basis that they're defending democracy. You can't defend democracy in the dark. You can't defend democracy behind closed doors. Democracy is in the streets. They know that. You should too. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez Project. We'll be back as soon as we can.
Thank you for watching Kramer Says Live.
This concludes this broadcast.
Please follow, like, and subscribe to be notified the next time
The CramerSez Project goes live.